Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 244, Self-Love. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm also lovingly known as RCA. Welcome to the show. I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, it is so good to have you with us. I hope that you've had an amazing weekend. And again, I want to be the first to welcome you to a brand new week.
Yes, it is going to be a great week because as you decide, it will be so. And I just want to remind you, first thing, friends, how powerful you are, that the whole day is stretched out before you. The whole week, maybe, if you're listening on Monday, is stretched out before you. And the idea is that you will make this the best week ever, that you will continue to be a powerful force for good in your life and in the world. And we just see this for you. I mean, and this is a great month of love. We're celebrating love all month. And I'm excited about today's topic as well with that.
Yeah, today's topic is self-love. It's the whole month of love, but today we're talking about loving yourself.
Well, yeah, and we started the month, Dave, with the idea of loving it. This
Right.
is something I love to say, right? I'm loving it. And, it's been a really great year for me so far. And so I know this is a wonderful guiding question and force in my life. I had shared that last year my question was, what brings me peace, which is fun and fine and good, but it also is a very serious approach. That which brings me peace. It's like, but it was so good last year because if there was any struggle involved, it was like, And so peace was my presiding question, right? It was like the pedal tone of the year.
Nice.
If you're a musician.
Yeah, I like the way that's
right. The pedal tone of the year. In other words, I kept coming back to that boom, boom. Is it bringing me peace? And this year it's, am I loving it? So there's a little lightness to it in a way. And there's also a great deal of trust involved. So that's how I was starting the year. And in February, we kicked off this Month of Love series with that idea, loving it. Am I loving it? And so it was kind of a global approach to our lives. Like, okay, is this cool? But what I realized this morning is I was, doing my morning kind of journaling and mindfulness work. It was like, oh, well, you know what? Kind of all month, self-love was the subtext, a little bit of what I was saying, right? Because then last week was made from love. And it was kind of saying the whole universe is working on your behalf. The whole universe is literally made from love, right? And so today we're bringing it into the very personal idea. And so give us the title again, Dave.
It is self-love. Self-love.
Yeah. Just allowing yourself those words can sometimes be a spiritual journey. Self-love. And I want to mention that because of the varying degrees that we've learned that or not, in our lives. And I had a dear friend, and I have her permission to share this. She gave me permission to share it in my book, and I did. She said, well, when I was growing up in church, I learned Jesus first, which was a J of the word joy, others second, which is the O, and yourself last. And that was supposed to bring me joy. And she said, but you know what? It didn't bring me joy. And I thought it meant always I came last. Now, somebody else on the journey might hear that and go, oh, what a great way to be of service. Yes, God first and yourself last. So for her, she also had a growing up situation. Her mother was not interested in how she felt or how much, she made too much noise as a kid. And right. So, it was difficult because the childhood situation was reinforcing the idea that, in other words, she did not have a right to be. And that was what she took away as the message. And I think a lot of us did. Many of us growing up heard the words, you are to be seen and not what, Dave?
Not heard.
Not heard. You are to be seen and not heard. And so, for some of us, we learned, well, that just means respect and shut your mouth when an adult is talking. But depending on what other things were going on in the house, we thought that meant, oh, I don't have a right to my thoughts and feelings. I don't have a right to my beliefs and ideas. I don't have a right to my voice in the world, right? I have to shut it down. And so this idea of self-love is like, well, what does that mean? If we're really being for real, some of us don't have the first idea of what self-love means. It's not being selfish, I can tell you that. That's what another thing many of us were taught is self-love means I'm selfish. I forget about God. I forget about others. I'm not in service. I don't give. I don't relate. No. Self-love is not selfish in a way that is, that sounds like a pejorative, right?
Mm-hmm.
To say you're selfish. Self-love means I honor my voice and my path. I listen to myself. I honor my opinions and beliefs. Not I have the only opinion and belief. Not I'm going to force my opinion and belief on everybody. Right? So that's a little bit in our culture right now. I saw this comedian the other day who was really great talking about he's I'm a Gen Xer, so he's a Gen Y,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And he said, or I guess no, a millennial, right? He's a millennial. Yeah. So I guess that is Gen Y. Yeah. But anyway, he said, the problem with my generation, we all know what's wrong with us. And he goes, and once we know what's wrong with us, rather than do anything about it, we want you to work around it. Mm. And he said, he was saying, I was at a party the other day and somebody said, oh, I can't do that. I have anxiety. And we were all supposed to go, oh, okay. They have anxiety. Instead of saying, I'm working through this anxiety, I'm healing this anxiety. And he said, so we've gone to the point of being so self-focused, right? So I just want to give you that as an example. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about loving yourself above all others and not ever considering anybody else. I mean, honoring your voice, yourself, your desires, your needs, let's say. So I want you to just breathe into that for a second. What does that mean to you to have self-love? And it's been a real journey for me. I'll just be honest. Self-love has been a huge, huge journey, and I learn a little bit more every day. I learn from the clients I have. I learn from my mentors and coaches. And it's really interesting. I've shared a little bit on the show about my martial arts journey. And in jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is a really intense martial art. It's very personal. It's very intimate. It's very demanding. But what's so interesting about the way it's taught is that in jiu-jitsu, if it hurts, you're doing it wrong, number one. And you can always say no. You never have to do something you're uncomfortable doing. Like if there's a workout partner you don't want to work with, or for whatever reason, you simply say, I don't want to roll with you today. I'm going to choose another partner. And that's the end of it. I mean, that and that's spoken. Like it's really okay in jiu-jitsu to speak up. As a matter of fact, we want you to, because you're going to be safer. This is going to be a better environment for everybody. We all know what's really going on. And this has been a great practice for me to be able to speak up and to be encouraged to speak up. Because most of us grew up in environments, nobody cared about our opinion. Yeah. So think about that. What is self-love for you? And keep in mind, what is self-love for you might be completely different in the way it plays out than it would be for me. Like self-love for you might be creating a practice, say once a week or once a month, where you have a whole 3 days at home that you don't go anywhere. Maybe self-love for you would be gaming for a day. And it's not about a doing necessarily, but it's about understanding what your needs, wants, and desires are and honoring those. And so it does, the word I keep thinking is convert to an action very often. But it's a state of being. Self-love is it's like an awareness of knowing what do I need and what do I want right now.
Yeah.
And then learning to honor that. Is that, hopefully that's making sense. I'm feeling like, I don't want to put you on the spot, Dave, but I'm feeling like you want to say something.
I just think about Shannon, and what Shannon does is she, we have a really nice kind of garden tub in the house, and which is really nice. We've not really had that before. It's just been like tubs. And so she got some of those little bath salts, those little Dr. Teal's bath salts.
Yes.
You can get them at the grocery store. It's not,
of course, right.
And she'll take a bath, a nice long soak with bath salts, at least a couple of times a week. And it is therapy, right? It is aquatic therapy for her, and it's so good. And not to mention, it makes the house smell great, and everything. It's like whether it's chamomile or like elderberries or whatever. And so that's something that she does purposefully.
Yeah.
She has a little Kindle, right? We got her little waterproof Kindle for the pool or whatever. So, but
that's
she
awesome.
she really enjoys that, and that's been healthy for her.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Just a complete. Sometimes you just need a complete. I just need time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the I think what we fight against again is the old ideas about what it means to love oneself. It's selfish, or a big one for me is I don't have time. I'm too busy. I've got too much going on to consider myself. But what's so interesting, and again, the ego is wrong, but only 100% of the time, because the ego will always tell you, oh no, you don't have time, or that's selfish. But what's so interesting that I have found, like over and over and over, like hundreds of times, I've learned this, and I have to keep learning it, that when I'm loving myself, when I'm listening, I am so much better at everything. I'm better at being a parent. I'm better at my job. I am more present to others, and when I'm just like kind of going on automatic, I can really just power down and mow through whatever's next for me to do. But man, I really don't do well with that over time anymore. It's like my body goes, oh no, no, we don't do that anymore. Remember? Yeah. So just the awareness of what my thoughts, feelings, beliefs, needs are, what it is I want to say, what it is that's in my heart, really is a guiding force. And when I am aware, when I am listening, when I am loving myself, I am better at everything. So, it might be, if you're, pretty new to the idea, it might just be, am I, you asking a question? Am I being loving to myself today? I really used to do a thing that I think was really almost self-abusive, where I was ill, and even though I was sick, I would keep working and do things. That's abuse to myself. That I was sick to the point of, really, I should have been in a hospital, and instead I was working at a church, holding myself up on my desk with my elbows so I would not fall down. That's how sick I was. That was not a great deal of self-love, but it was a learning. It was a learning. And that's what I mean. Just the idea of, am I loving myself today? If I would have asked myself that then, I could have been honest and said, you know what? No, this is not loving. But I didn't have that vocabulary at that point. And even though, friends, this has been a journey, and I love Dr. Donna's show. Her topics recently have been so good. And I heard her say in one show, this is not a 5-step process, which I've said for years. I thought that was so funny when she said it. I was like, I wonder if she told it to me 30 years ago. But a lot of times these self-help gurus and stuff, they say, well, just do these 5 things and all be well, And the truth is, this journey of awareness, this journey of awakening, this spiritual journey is a process. And so even if you've done a lot of therapeutic work, even if you've done inner child work, there's always more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's more awareness, and there's more goodness for us. It's like, just because you had a year of therapy doesn't mean you're done working on yourself.
Yeah.
And Dave, I know you've had some, incredible strides in the last couple of years of learning to love yourself, getting appointments you needed to take care of some things.
Absolutely.
Getting some things checked out. I mean, it's like, again, I'm not putting you on the spot, but those were, I know, really big for you. And they were great self-love, self-care moves.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of dental trauma and all that kind of stuff. And just speaking of Dr. Donna, act your age, Dave. Quit being in your, in your arrested child state about this dental stuff. But I remember growing up, I felt I was just kind of an oblivious kid. I was the youngest. I was the only boy. And so there was an inherent selfishness, I think, to being the youngest and being the only boy. And, and so I think I was pretty selfish, in middle school and high school. And it wasn't until I got into a relationship, like a real relationship with Shannon, that I started to kind of come out of that. And just, I think I might have swung maybe too far the other way. And so I think kind of bringing it back to center, and realizing that, it's okay. It's okay to do the things that, that you need to do or want to do. And coming out of that was, creating a business, being a composer, doing all these things that I just kind of stuck a pin in while just trying to get a career and a marriage and all of that. And so I feel like I'm in a really good place now. Definitely a better place with my dental stuff, but getting on the other side of all that.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, there's aspects to us that right now we may not be conscious of, where there's like holes in our awareness. Mm-hmm. I realized that for myself recently. It's like, oh, I really can't believe I've not been honoring this. One of the things I've done recently, I mentioned I was going to do it, was working with some kids that are with a basketball program, the All-Stars, with Coach Richie and his wife Hashi, do a wonderful community program in Kissimmee. And I'm going to be working with them ongoing. And we're just right now trying to figure out a schedule that works for everyone. But what I realized is to go work with those kids was an act of self-love, because of how much I enjoy kids. I love kids. I've always loved kids. I have always loved working with kids. And I had really gotten out of it between COVID and not being at a ministry with a lot of kids. I haven't had as much interaction, and my own son has grown so much that, now he's driving. So I haven't had a lot of interaction with younger kids. And it turns out this program is about, they're probably 6, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds to 16, 17, something like that. But most of them are younger, and how much I loved it. Like, I could not wait to get there, and I didn't want to leave. So that was really a blast. And I really, was just very guided to work with him. I didn't know at the time that was really why. And he and I are working together, and he keeps affirming I'm going to work with the Orlando Magic, because they are like the junior Magic, and they often play before the Magic games. Oh, wow. And the coach said to me, I can just see you working with our kids, and somebody walking over and going, who is that? And what are you guys doing? And he said, I see that for you. I see you working with the Orlando Magic. And I said, awesome. I love it. But any new opportunity to do that will come out of my joy, not because I'm trying to make money. I've never that's never been a driving force for me, and I've always had enough. I'm not the richest person in the world. I don't have millions, but I make a wonderful living, and I can provide for my family. That's great. That's great for me. So, but it's come, a great deal of my success has come from really listening to that inner voice, and then as I've said, each year having this kind of driving question: what's the thing that is my rudder, in deciding what I'm going to do? And this year, again, it's about loving it. So this opportunity with the kids, I thought I was being of service, and I am, but boy, I love it. So it's like, okay, well, I can't do every week, but the minimum is like once a month. And they'll have other speakers and other workshops. So that'll probably be about right. So we're working together in deciding which of the themes, I'm going to help him with, and which skills. And because he's doing the basketball skills. And luckily, I love basketball and I played in school. So, I never talk about my sports. A lot of people know I'm a musician, but I loved playing basketball, and I lettered in basketball, volleyball, so I did a lot of sports and really enjoyed it. So it's fun for me to do some of the drills, but my piece, right, is giving them skills for life. So we're going to be working together to do that. And just this morning, I woke up and I went, oh, I know what my 2 next topics are going to be. So I'll be bringing the community, the online community, the podcast community, my online ministry along with it. So it's just another one of those things. When you give, it affords me the ability to go give of myself and my services to the community. If all I'm worrying about is paying the next bill, that's going to be hard for me to do, So all the ways you're giving to me and my ministry enable me to do that. Yeah. So not only are we touching people around the world with podcasts, I'm making a real difference in Central Florida with kids who otherwise would never learn that the thoughts, beliefs, and actions is how you create success in your life and world, right? But it all came, friends, out of a desire to be of service and loving myself. Hear that. Isn't that amazing? To me, that's amazing how the universe works. And even that, I kept a connection with these souls. These were CCU members years ago. I remember when they came into the church and how important the church was, and that we've stayed connected. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So when you're listening to the inner voice, which you'll hear me talk a lot about, when you are seeking to live life from this higher way, you're going to be guided into things that are for your highest good. And this is an important part of self-love, is listening to the inner voice. Sometimes the inner voice is not really a voice, right? But a feeling. So I want to just honor that, because I've had people say, well, I don't hear voices. I had this one person say, I'm a lawyer. I don't hear voices. I'm logical. And things follow a 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, yes, but you understand ethics and integrity. And it was like, oh, yes, I do. And it was like, okay, so how do you tell when there's an ethics or an integrity violation? Oh, doesn't feel right. There you go. Yeah. So see, that's what we're all working to listen to, is this inner voice that tells us right from wrong, this inner voice that says that's not for you to do. And then not only hearing it, honoring it. But sometimes it doesn't come as like the clouds don't open, a voice doesn't come down from heaven and said, you are my beloved in whom I'm well pleased, go do this. We don't always get that. Sometimes it's, as you call it, Dave, a check in my spirit.
Right. Yep. I got to check.
You got to check. So you got to take a step back. Sometimes it's just this like, my dad would say, is it gnawing at you, honey? Like you can't quite move forward because something doesn't feel right. There's a check in your spirit. So, but the voice also comes as this feeling of like, yes. So one of my mentors, Sharon Poindexter, who I mentioned on the show many times, she passed away many years ago from cancer. It's probably been 25, almost 30 years ago now. But she would say, if your internal answer is yeah, or yeah, but you're really not doing as you are guided. But if it's a yes, then you know it's yours to do. And she would say to me, and you know the difference in that. You know the difference in, yeah, but no, yes. So when you're getting an internal yes, it's yours to do. Don't pretend like you don't know. You know. So a self-love move for you might be learning to listen to that voice a little bit more. You know, it might be making a little time for yourself every day to do some spiritual work and mindfulness work. It might be doing something totally out of the box for you to just like blow it out, do something fun. You know, for my birthday, I did a couple of great things. I'm sure they'll come out later in future podcasts. Some of those experiences, but I wanted to do something really different for my birthday this year, and just had a birthday recently, and it was a lot of fun. So I'll talk more about that in the future, I'm sure. But that was also a self-care move. You know, when you're always doing the same thing all the time, sometimes you just blow it out, do something new. For me, that's self-care. That's self-love. For you, it might be, drawing a bath, taking time to soak, or for you, it might be, going river rafting, taking your family, saying, you know what, I need a whole week, or I need a whole weekend, or I need 3 days, and I just need to do this. Do it. Because you're never going to say when you get to the end of your life, oh my gosh, I really wish I would have worked more. You're going to say, wow, look at those experiences I missed. I was so busy worrying about what people were thinking. I was so busy worrying about making enough money. I was so busy worrying, because the things that I find that are self-love moves for me rarely cost any money. It's really a feeling. It's a knowing. It's a honoring. It's a, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I often go to a park, here in town. And I used to go every week, and I would take my dog, and we'd check the creek, and we'd walk and everything. And recently I did a couple of sessions with people, because all my sessions now are by phone. They're not video. And I felt like I had the whole support of all the trees. And I mean, it was just this incredible energy. I had a phone call with my accountability partner out there, and I was so present and so grounded. And wow, was that a self-love move? I just felt so filled up. And I thought, I just spent a few hours here, and I feel like I've had a week of vacation. I lost track of time. I was present to myself and what was going on around me. I was present to the people on the phone. I was able to do walks. I just felt the breeze. I felt the sun. Wow. I mean, it was just, and friends, it was just a few hours. I thought I can go for another month on that. I don't have to have another day off for a month. Of course, I am taking days off every week, but I mean, I just was so filled up. I was so filled up. So I hope, friends, that you will know that to love yourself is to love God. We have the idea that God is way out there. It's like it way out there on a, and then as we learn a little bit more, it's kind of to me, and then it's through me, and then it's as me. Right? So that's kind of where we are now. Those who are journeying along with us on the podcast, as we realize God is here now. God is here now, that we are loved, we are supported, we are blessed. And as we love ourselves, it's really learning the nature of God in, through, and as us. So to love yourself is to love God. And God's will for us, God's will for you is good. So my hope for you, especially in this next week, in the month of love, that you start something new with loving yourself a little more deeply. Listening to that inner voice. If there's something that doesn't feel quite right, don't move forward till you're ready. Ask yourself, is this loving to me? Am I in my self-love this week? What do I need to love myself in a deeper way? Knowing that as you do that, you absolutely will be on purpose. You'll be living a God-centered life. You will be supporting others. You'll be supporting your family. And most definitely, you will be supporting yourself. So this is my prayer for you, friend, that as you go throughout your week, you're going to remember to love yourself, and knowing that as you do, you're going to make your life and the world a better place. Simply because you're loving yourself, you will move through the world as a good soul, as a happy soul, as somebody that wants to help and serve others. It's natural when you're feeling the love and the support for yourself from yourself. Okay? So remember, friends, if you have that inner yeah, but, or yes, trust that yes, move forward as you're guided, loving yourself, listening to that inner voice, loving yourself, and moving forward as you are guided. So as always, friends, we're so grateful that you joined us on the show. And I want to thank you especially. So many of you stepped forward on our campaign. This is the very last week of our financial campaign. And of course, anytime during the year, we're always very happy and grateful to receive your financial gifts. But I want to report to you, and I will report to you next month because we record a little early. It's going to be into March before you hear the exact numbers, but I can tell you we're well on our way to meeting our goal of $9,000 in 90 days. So thank you in advance for all the ways you give. And no, we're honored to support your journey. Dave and I love to bring you this show. Dave is such a professional, and I know provides wonderful support to me and our listeners through the incredible sound quality. So know as you give, that's supporting Dave and his work as well. So thank you so much, friends, for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.